The platform enablers were the ones who made the money during the gold rush in San Francisco in the 1800s, right? The picks, the shovels, the pans, the jeans were sold by them, correct? And Levi Strauss was born there. Today's equivalent analogy in that situation is NVIDIA, since let's bring up NVIDIA once more. You should be smiling broadly because, after all, you own it. Do you think this is illogical, or does it make perfect sense? No, I don't want to repeat myself, but reaching $3 trillion on an intrinsic value basis is extremely difficult. However, NVIDIA would be the company to choose if you were creating the ideal momentum company from the ground up. You have a compelling story, a CEO who doesn't stray from it, and they've set the stage so they can meet short-term expectations. Additionally, a market plays a role in the mix. In fact, I believe that you are witnessing one of the greatest momentum plays in history. The leading pick and shovel supplier is NVIDIA. The question then becomes, what will we make with these picks and shovels? Are we going to find gold? And I think the question is unclear. And where will that gold be found? Will it be found inside of a huge IT corporation, or will it be found inside of a startup? If you look at where these resources are being spent inside of big tech, it is to utterly scorch the earth on the economic value of massive models. And I believe that's very, very helpful for all the startups that come after it. So what do I mean by this? We were all so twisted around the axle with ChatGPT, and then GPT in general. And now, if you look at the quality of Llama and Llama 2, basically these large firms have decided, no, we're just going to make all these models extremely good, extremely useful, and very, very free. Therefore, a large portion of the resources are being used to subsidize that category's worth, thereby destroying its economic value. Startups will benefit from that. What will you subsequently construct on top of these nearly free tools is the question. Computational biology is one field I have been studying for some time. In the footage you mentioned, I believe I was discussing with Ors the possibility of computing big, complex spaces using minimal information. Today, it's a tremendously challenging process, but soon you can practically characterize every possible chemical permutation in an AI model that you can train. You can comprehend protein folding by combining it with a program like AlphaFold. Suddenly, you can begin to piece together tools that, in theory, might increase your chances of correctly identifying particular compounds that have the potential to treat illness. Another variation of that is a business that I founded with a few others, which is more in the field of material science. I tweeted that out. Additionally, we've made some significant progress in the development of next-generation battery materials. And if it works, we have one candidate who has the potential to be quite revolutionary. Some encouraging signals, but we're not sure yet. Thus, a few of these green shoots are present. In my opinion, a significant portion of NVIDIA's current revenue will be wisely spent because it will go to the big players, including Tesla and big tech. Following that, they will use it to develop some very fundamental platform technologies, such as Dovo FSD, the entire Tesla platform that consists of cameras, inference, and training for all types of physical world interaction with Llama 2. And over the coming years, all of it will be effectively handed to the ecosystem, open source, almost free. And that, in my opinion, will be a very significant event that will give rise to hundreds of new businesses doing incredibly innovative and exciting stuff. Thus, the great breakout firm has not yet materialized, and I believe that the big guys will receive the majority of this capital expenditure at this time. However, the startups that are launched within the next 4 or 5 years will reap the benefits of all the effort that these large corporations are doing. How concerned are you about this article from the information that claims they are requesting that suppliers replace the server racks for Blackwell because they are overheating? I'm not particularly concerned about it. You see, this happened to NVIDIA approximately 5 months ago. The problem with NVIDIA is that they make modifications very quickly. The design was altered after the specific Blackwell overheating issue was resolved. We might be discussing Grace Hopper Blackwell if we're discussing a possible new overheating problem. However, I can assure you that Jensen is not the type of CEO that enjoys repeating the same mistakes. Therefore, I don't see this issue occurring, or if it is most likely not a significant issue because Jensen or NVIDIA recovered from the last issue in less than 2 months. However, does the need for a delay affect the numbers? I mean, Jensen did tell CNBC a month or so ago that the demand for Blackwell was, quote, insane. So I don't think that's the problem. But the timing? I don't think the time changes at all. I suppose Blackwell is ready to depart. I think Blackwell is repaired, and we maintain our tagline. You have to own NVDA into the Blackwell ramp. I mean, that's going to be the rosiest moment of owning Blackwell when Blackwell is ramping. So I maintain that we've got this overheating issue, particularly with Blackwell, and I think it's been solved. In my opinion, we anticipate a very small amount of volume to arrive in the October quarter, followed by a significant amount in the January quarter. And with NVDA, that's our perspective. You mentioned that we should keep an eye on this particular gap. What does this gap up here tell us? Watching the gaps from last week is, I believe, our theme for the week. As a result of Wednesday's extremely favorable reaction, the market opened very strongly and left these gaps in its wake. We constantly keep an eye on the gaps, since it would usually be a setback if the market, the SPY, or any individual security were to rapidly retreat within them. So the gaps can be indicators as to the sustainability of the rising motion. In our opinion, SPY in particular made a really strong upward surge last week, rallying by almost 5%. We immediately observed strong upside follow-through. In order to maintain the breakout this week, it is imperative that it maintain the gap, which it has a strong probability of doing. Okay, we have to wait and see if technology takes us in the correct route, because we are now seeing a lot of enthusiasm, at least in the pre-market. Right now, I want to go somewhere else. I intend to clear the charts once more. I see why you enjoy doing this, Katie. It's a lot of fun. Now let's look at the VIX chart. From here and then from around here, we will examine overbought and oversold conditions. Therefore, I think the overbought line is at the top and the oversold line is at the bottom. What does that teach us? What do these charts tell us? The VIX is quite intriguing. A very distinct trading range has emerged. Support at 15 and resistance, about 22 to 23, enclose that range. We would say that the high volatility cycle that started in July is still in place within that range. On the other hand, it would indicate that the market will be able to continue rising if the 15 area, the lower limit of that range, were breached more forcefully. Naturally, that would indicate that a cycle of reduced volatility has resumed. Therefore, you would anticipate some consolidation, that is, a sideways move followed by an oversold bounce, when the VIX is in an oversold situation close to that support. Naturally, you might then extrapolate that to the S&P 500, with which it has an inverse relationship, and anticipate a consolidation and decline in the S&P. The only question is how dramatic that will be. Okay, Katie, let me go on to the newest Dow component, another stock. Every trader I speak with has it and frequently discusses it. Naturally, I'm referring to NVDA because we were practically CNBC NVDA here once. I'll display the chart right here. The 100-day moving average is shown here as the purple line, while the 200-day is shown here as the goldish line. And you can see an area of resistance right here. What can you infer about this trade and this stock from that? Thus, NVDA is referred to as testing resistant. A breakout is still pending confirmation this week in our study, because the 141 level was convincingly cleared last week on a 9% gain. Therefore, if we observe a close on Friday,